Fred, great to see you as always, and good to hear that you're back from your windsurfing trip to Brittany. I didn't want you to get swept away. Just to kick off, let me ask you about something that we've talked about previously. Your ambition was to make a lot of money and not work very hard. I mean, just tell us how AlpVision enables you to do that.
Well, first, initially, the goal was just to make a living, you know.
Right.
It just happened that it worked so well that we ended up with something that is very profitable without requiring too much engagement. So,
Right.
of course, you, you have to work, but not in an excessive manner that you would actually feel bad. So I think, and that's a good thing for business actually, because if you feel good, if you have a reasonable effort in your daily activity, you are going to be able to do this in the long term.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. I mean, a good point that, you can't keep up sort of 20-hour days forever. It doesn't work that way, does it? Let me just ask you about that though. So, I mean, tell us what is it you're trying to achieve with Vision? Because it does a particular thing, your business, doesn't it? Just tell us a bit about that.
Yes, what we are doing is being able to give away for people to tell if a product they buy is a genuine item, okay, from the brand, or is a counterfeited, I mean, a fake
Okay.
version
Yeah.
of this same item. This works for whiskey, for shoes, whatever, electronic devices, okay. And this is what we invented and what we are selling.
Okay. And just explain, seeing as we started off with this bit about not having to work very hard, I mean, it sounds like a great proposition. What I don't quite understand is why that works without you having to work too hard. I mean, just give us how that, just explain how that reality has come about.
So it's about innovation, it's about the business model, okay. That is these two things, okay? The business model first, it's a license-based business model.
Right.
That means our customers are brand owners,
Yeah.
okay? And they want to protect their products against counterfeiting, okay? And if they use our technology, they will pay us a yearly fee based on a number of protected items.
Right.
That means when you do this, you have a recurring business model. That means you make business year after year and you make money year after year
Yeah.
without fundamentally having to work for it. If you have to work in addition, then you invoice this work.
Okay. I get the logic of that, and I can see why that's an attractive business model. Um, I mean, as the CEO, I mean, how do you feel about your staff not working that hard then? I mean, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, give us a sense of how it works inside the organization.
I mean, this organization is about technical people.
Right.
Okay. Just consider that we are managing basically this company with two people, but basically it's a very flat hierarchy. Okay. And the founders, Martin Kutter and myself, we have a PhD in signal processing. So you see where I'm going actually. This is a technical company made by technical people and with technical people creating the value day after day.
Yeah.
So it's a very special kind of setup if you want.
Yeah. And I guess you're selling a very technical product.
Yes, it's a very technical product and this has a drawback. That means that you have to be able to sell successfully a very technical product while being yourself a technical guy.
Mm.
Okay? So that means that you have to develop some talents to make your concept understandable by people.
Yeah.
Okay?
So it requires a particular way to sell it and to communicate about it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely. And this is not obvious. Um, you know, to 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 um, to try to convey something where you talk about the functionality, what is the benefit of your solution without trying to always get into the technical details. Because at the end of the day, the customer don't really care about how your stuff is working.
Mm,
What he cares about is it what is it doing, what is the benefit, and what is the price. Period.
mm.
Because as an engineer, you're always proud of how it works, but you have to put this aside.
Yeah, no, I understand that, and I think your point is well made. Actually, I mean, I think customers usually care about the outcomes. They're not so bothered about the process of them, and sometimes they are. But no, it's a very well made point there. Let me ask you about being the CEO of that company. I mean, what does being the CEO mean to you? Is it important? Does it make you happy? I mean,
Um, so just imagine from the start, okay? I started in my garage, okay, with this friend, okay. So at this point, the concept of CEO was very symbolic, okay, because we were two. So, and even today, I'm not sure it makes really a difference from the day to day of the operations that I'm the CEO, okay. It really doesn't really matter. What matters in this company is more about your argument. If we take, for instance, an intern in the company. Okay,
yeah,
so I would say he's level zero. Okay, and he has a good idea. His idea will be more important than whatever I say, because if he says something correct, that's correct. Period. Okay, there is no hierarchy to say that an idea is not good if it's scientifically, technically correct.
mm,
So I'm not sure it really makes a difference. But what makes a difference is that the founders are in the company and contribute technically and commercially to the company.
mm,
That really matters.
mm. And are you saying, just so I understand this correctly, are you saying that culture of what matters is good ideas rather than hierarchy? Are you saying that's the way you've sort of built the business?
Yes. Yes, I really mean it. It's very important, actually. The ideas, and and sometimes sort of in company you have people who talk very well,
Mm,
okay, are able to very well express ideas. But sometimes these are not good ideas. And you have other people who are not very good at expressing ideas, but have very good ideas. Okay.
mm,
So it's more like trying to make the best and listening more to the people who talk less and talk badly, and not only so it's more about the core of what is being said.
mm. It also suggests, sorry, just exploring this a little bit, it also suggests that you need a different set of skills as a leader. I mean, what you're saying is that part of what makes you successful is your ability to listen to people that perhaps aren't tremendously articulate but have got good ideas, and that listening skill is actually really important. Whereas in lots of companies, the ability to talk a lot is
Yes, correct.
important, isn't
And and consider also surprisingly that you have very hardcore technical people in this company
it?
who
Mm,
may have brilliant commercial ideas. And because he has a PhD, I don't know, in mathematics doesn't mean he cannot have a brilliant commercial idea.
mm,
Okay, and that's also very important. It's really uh, it's going to be all across the ideas. Okay,
yeah,
and the merit of ideas and how effective they are, whatever the people who say the idea.
yeah. And I mean, I'm a great believer that there's two things that power organizations. One is ideas, and the other one's people. And what you're describing is a way of bringing those two things together in a way that really works. Have I understood that correctly?
Yeah, it's correct. And also making things a bit even more complicating and more interesting, maybe. Sometimes you have not so good ideas, okay, technical ideas, for instance, but they are brought by technical people who really believe in it, okay. And an average idea correctly executed because the people is passionate about his idea
Yeah,
may have actually some brilliant results because there is very hardcore motivation to make it work.
yeah.
So you have also to take this in consideration.
Yeah. Let me follow up on the thing about communication. I mean, so to come back to your point earlier on about having to explain what is a very technical product to people. I mean, how have you approached communicating that more broadly to stakeholders, board, customers, people more broadly? I mean, what if that's worked really well? Because that's a pretty tough task, communicating complicated ideas to people that aren't in that world. I mean, what would you say has made that successful?
Well, first, repetition. Okay. I presented our technologies so far, I would say about several hundreds of times,
Hmm.
okay, over 25 years. Okay, this
Yeah.
is the history of the company. So even if I was very bad at the beginning,
You're
if
good now.
after several hundreds of times, you, you have to converge. Okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing, which is even more important than talking, okay, in a commercial situation, is listening.
And just explain why you think that's the case. Just explain that.
Because because I made the mistake at the beginning to talk a lot about what we are doing.
Mm.
Okay? What is the performance of our system? Okay. And sometimes the people wanted to hear an application which was totally different. And I was totally off with
Mm.
my statements. So what I learned is the first slide of the presentation actually is not about what we do. Is say basically it says what is your counterfeiting issues right now?
Okay. So you asked them about the problem as they see it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and I stop talking. So I start my presentation by being silent and listening.
Mm.
Okay, and the first thing is that people love this because the people come to a call, they have something to say. There is a reason,
Mm.
okay? And they want me to listen first, okay? And I have the same thing with suppliers myself. I come with something in mind, okay? So just listening and really understanding exactly where the customer is coming from. For instance, maybe he has already tested some competing solutions.
Mm.
It's very useful for me to understand what was his experience. Or maybe he wants a solution for checking internally fake or genuine products. Or he wants the totally opposite thing, something to be checked by his customers, consumers in the field.
Mm.
Sometimes I even have customers that don't want to check if the product is counterfeited or genuine. They know they are counterfeits and they want to check who is the counterfeiter. And we can recognize who is the counterfeiter.
Mm.
So it's really worth listening first.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. But I mean, let's just talk a bit about the kind of team thing, the people thing. I mean, what's your thoughts on how you build a high performing team? Because if you haven't got a lot of people, by default, they have to perform really well because there's nowhere you can't afford to carry people. I mean, what's your take on how you build a really good team, a really high
Well,
performing team?
we changed, it's about recruiting, okay, at the end of the day. It's very important, okay? Recruitment, okay? How you select people for
Mm.
your organization.
And how do you do that?
Well, we changed a lot through the years. At the beginning, we were looking solely on the competencies, technical performance of the people.
Mm.
And now today, I wouldn't say it doesn't matter, but almost. Okay. What matters most is not this. It's just the character. Is this a positive person?
Mm.
Someone you are happy to work with? This is the most fundamental thing because this is not going to change, whatever you do. Okay. And if this is a positive person, you are going to be able to train the person to do something useful for the organization.
Mm. But let me ask you about that though, Fred, because it's very easy to say we will recruit positive people, right? I mean, that's, yeah, and I get that. I get that. people don't always turn out the way that they appear at interviews, though, do they? I mean, sometimes it can take you quite a while to get to know people to work. I mean, how do you manage that process? I mean, somebody might give a good interview, they might come across as really, I mean, to take that example, really positive. But how do you manage the next bit to work out whether they do have those attributes and whether those attributes are genuine and whether they're a really ingrained part of them rather than something that they presented perhaps just at the interviews.
I would say it's just about intuition, okay, and experience, okay.
Mm,
And also, we are going to have all the people, basically, all of the company, give their opinion. What is their feeling, the gut feeling? Okay. We are technical people, very scientific people, but there are some areas where we fully respect gut feeling, okay, which is not scientific, which is more, how do you feel about this person?
mm,
Okay. And you cannot pinpoint exactly what he or she said, but you have an overall feeling that, and sometimes, if you see, but just indications, if the people is smiling, it may be a good indication, but not always. Okay. You can have people who don't smile a lot. Okay. But are still fundamentally good people to live with. Okay.
mm,
Uh, you can see this also, um, there is also a culture of technical and scientific things. Okay. Sometimes it's very good if you feel that the person is very passionate about technical stuff.
mm,
It's really his thing. Okay. Then you know, for some people, that you are always going to be able to work with the people by always turning on the goal. Okay, you focus on the goal and you focus on the technical stuff. I know this person will be happy because he's going to accomplish what he really likes or she really likes.
mm.
So that's also one thing that you can find with some people. And you
Let, let
find
me let me
this in the
just
office.
but let me push back on that a little bit, Fred, because I mean I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. You look for people that you think are going to fit in, that you're going to get on with. But the danger with that is that it opens the door to bias, doesn't it? That you can not select people that could do a perfectly good job because they don't look like you look or present the way you look. I mean, what are your thoughts on that issue? Because, there's more to employment than simply having people that just mirror you, aren't there? That you feel you'll get on with. I mean, there's more to it than that.
This is why it's not only my opinion here. It's going to be the opinion also of the other employees
Mm,
who are already at AlpVision, because they will have a different look on the person, and may help actually to pinpoint some things which we didn't see, and which may be drawbacks or good things.
mm. Okay, yeah. And let me ask you about that next bit as well. I mean, once you've recruited people, it seems to me the next big challenge is to create the conditions in which those people can thrive, those people can do their best work, those people can perform effectively. I mean, how do you create that culture that enables people to do their best work? And what is it that you do to create that?
I think what is very important is that you do something which is meaningful every day, day after day. Okay. That means you are not going to recruit someone and give the person only a technical work and say, you have to do this, period. Okay. You have to explain why. Why is it useful?
Mm,
Okay. Technically, what he's doing. What is it useful commercially? Why is it useful for the customer? And maybe why is it useful um, to detect counterfeits compared to fake products? Does it help society actually? So you give some level of meaningfulness actually to the work from the beginning.
right. And do you feel that's the thing that creates high performance? Simply that meaningfulness? I mean, are there not other things? Incentives, you know, is it purely about the meaning?
The meaning and the matching of the natural passion of the person,
Right.
I think, is fundamental. Um, I think there is something around laughing and humor and smiling. Okay.
Right.
Um, and we laugh a lot in this company.
Mm.
Okay. It's so every meeting we're going to laugh. There is no exception. Okay. And
So it's a fun place to work. Is that what you're saying? Part of it is that it's a fun, enjoyable, happy place to work.
yeah, but I would say I wouldn't say it's artificial. It's just because we love it's okay to waste time and throw some jokes and and I think it's part of the process. Okay, and it's a cultural thing. Okay, and I must say, tell you something. We have a very low turnover. Okay, people
Mm.
enter here and it's very rare that they leave. Okay, but we have been trying years after years to understand why it's working so well.
Mm. And what are your conclusions?
I just trying to say that we are trying to reverse engineer what we are doing intuitively. Okay, we didn't have a plan here because we started in a garage with two people. Okay, so there was no strategy. Okay, we are not
Mm.
business person. Okay, so and that's very interesting because we saw other companies that really failed on this, even
Mm.
in exactly in the same sector as us. Okay, so was very interesting because we had candidates coming from these companies, and we understood that it was going very badly on the human side of things. So I'm just trying to tell you that I'm still in the process of reverse engineering and trying to understand what we do well in order to on doing it, which is
Yeah, yeah, which is easier said than done, isn't it? It's not
yeah.
always an easy thing. Yeah, I get that. Let me ask you about the how the business has evolved. I mean, you're doing business in all sorts of interesting places. I mean, has the business evolved as you've grown and gone into different jurisdictions? I mean, different markets?
Yeah, initially we were making business solely in Switzerland,
Mm.
and but today we have an office in New York and Shanghai, so it's totally different. Okay, initially we had maybe I don't know a few hundreds of protected items. Today we have 30 billion of items every year that we
Wow.
protect.
Wow.
So the scale is totally different. Okay. Initially, I understood every line of code that was produced at
Mm.
AlpVision because it was coming from me. Okay. Today, I don't understand most of the code which is written at AlpVision. I could say 99%. Okay.
And
So,
how do you feel about, if you like, that loss of control? I mean, how does that make you feel?
um, it was a process. Okay. The delegation process. Okay. Um, it across it lasted 25 years so far. Okay, to delegate more and more things and being skeptical at the beginning that people would perform as well as I do. Okay, and then I realized that actually they were doing better.
Okay. Okay, that's a useful learning point, isn't it?
Then you start to relax. Okay, say
Yeah.
actually if I
Yeah.
come back it's not going to be as good, so so, so
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's interesting, really. And let me talk about the part. I mean, you talk about having an office in Shanghai and an office in New York. I mean, presumably you've got lots of partners. I mean, what's your take on building those relationships with partners, negotiating deals with them? I mean, how do you approach that in your situation?
First, partners is a very interesting thing, okay? We try to avoid partners. We are very few partners.
And why is that? Why do you avoid that? Because most people say that their big thing about building a global business is to connect with and build lots of partnerships. I mean, why are you doing the opposite?
Because we tried at the beginning to,
Okay, so it didn't work.
okay, and it didn't work. But we lost a lot of time in the process,
Right.
The typical thing we did at the beginning and during many years actually is to start with big contracts, okay, with
Yeah.
I don't know, a partner, I don't know, in Japan, Singapore, whatever. So we start with a big contract collaboration, and after a month and month of review with lawyers, okay, we and you start working for real, and then there is no business at all that comes out.
Okay.
So you've lost your time, and we did that many times.
So
Okay,
partnering, what you're saying is that focusing on securing partnerships slows you down. Is that what you're saying?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Not only it slows us down, but actually it didn't make any business most of the times. There were some exceptions. Okay.
And just explain to me why. Why doesn't that work? Because other people tell me the opposite. And I'm interested in why that doesn't work in your situation.
So um, it may be related to our market. Okay. It's a brand protection market.
Mm,
Okay? So a brand owner decides to secure its brand with the technology. I tell you, this happens rarely in the history of the brand. They're not going to change every year about security technologies. So if you start a partnership, the partner has to be ready to look for customers for many, many years unsuccessfully.
mm,
Okay, so this is already a first killer. The second killer is the complexity of the technology. Okay, uh, well, I mean, it's not the complexity of the technology, but all you have to know to deploy it successfully.
okay.
And there are a lot of details and trade secret that you have to acquire. It takes actually several years for a new employee here to really master what we are doing and why a development deployment is going to be successful or what we have to take care about.
So if you're not using partners to build a global footprint, I mean, what is your approach?
So first, the Shanghai and New York are offices, so these are employees. Okay, so we have direct control here. Um, we have a lot of so they are going to the market, and these are experienced people who know about the technology and how to sell it.
Mm,
Okay, and it took years.
yeah,
Okay,
I can
to do.
believe that.
And we have also a lot of incoming requests because after 25 years, the inbound process becomes more and more important, and people know that we have been successful on some
So,
market.
so those inbound requests are in effect referrals. Other people have said, we've used AlpVision, it's worked, you should.
So inbounds may come by a referral, okay, or
Mm,
may come by SEO, okay.
okay.
People just go on Google, okay, or ask to AI, how do I detect counterfeit products? This is how decision maker actually will act, and they will some companies will pop up, okay, and then they will okay, I will try Alvision, okay. Um, and this inbound, if you are for a long time in the market, what happens, for instance, is that you have reports which are written every year about the most important provider of security solutions.
Mm,
We've been for so long in this market that we are always in the top 10. We do nothing for this. We don't pay anyone, okay? But we are in all these reports. So if you start Googling about counterfeiting, anti-counterfeiting solution, you will find AlpVision. It will be
mm,
very high.
mm.
So this helps a lot about the inbound. Then you've got incoming calls. Say, hey, I've got this problem. And we have this all over the world. So the problem is more like pushing back all the incoming requests which are not going to be profitable for us. So
Okay.
most of the incoming requests, we push them back. We are not interested because you have to consider something else. We are in Switzerland, okay, where we have the highest wages in the world.
Mm,
So we have to be very, very cautious about the profitability of the operation. So
sure.
we have the incoming request. The first thing is it going to be profitable for the company? Can really, really, really serve this market? So if I'm, for instance, in India, and the people have come with securing 10 millions of products per year, I'm going to say probably not interested. The volume is too low. Tell me about 1 billion. While the same thing in, I don't know, Germany, 10 million, I would take the deal.
Mm. And let me ask you about those customers. I mean, what does a good customer look like to you? Tell me about that.
Well, I would say the dream customer are technical versed people.
Right.
Okay. And I would say, I think 100% of the sales that we do are actually with people who have some sensitivity to technical thing. They understand what we're doing and why there is a superiority compared to other approaches. So this is one thing about the person. Okay.
Mm,
Now about the company. The company has to make at least 100 million of euros of turnover per year of revenue, if you want. There are exceptions, but most of the time it's this.
mm, So
Uh,
there's scale. They're at scale.
the scale is very important because at the end of the day, we are going to protect a number of items and there will be a cost per item. Say, for instance, 1 cent per item. If you have 10 million items, that means 100,000 euros per year. It's okay. That's a deal. But if it's 1 million, that depends on the item. Okay. If this is very expensive items, it's okay.
Mm.
Okay. We can even go down to 10,000, very, very expensive items. Okay. But the other hand, we have some items when we protect, I don't know, 10 billion cigarette boxes. 10 billion is okay. 10 billion, yeah, we can do this.
And what would be the ones that you do for 10,000 off? They're really expensive ones. What sort of things would they be? Diamond rings, perhaps,
Yeah, well, you can have watches, for instance.
right?
Luxury watches are very good. You can have electronic, consumer electronics. You can have also some things, more in the 1 million, I would say, volume per
And
year.
tell me, I mean, just to illustrate this for people that are listening, I mean, tell me about how your technology works with a really expensive watch, let's say a Rolex or something. I mean, how would your technology help ensure that somebody doesn't buy a fake one?
So we have two technologies, okay? So if you talk about watches, for instance, luxury watches, what we are going to use is the so-called unique fingerprint technology.
Right.
So unique fingerprints is a wonderful thing where we do no marking, nothing. We don't touch the object, but we can authenticate it. And here how it works. If you take most of the watches, well, they always have a dial, okay, and most of them now have a glass back.
Yeah.
That means you can go see through, okay. If you talk only about the dial, okay, the dial of a watch, if you look very closely, like if you have a field of view of 5 by 5 millimeters and you have 256 by 256 pixels, you are going to have such a resolution that you see how the paint has been deposited on the surface of the dial.
Wow.
What is important here is that the paint is deposited in a way which is different for each dial.
So you
And
can tell which is which.
yeah, and it's extremely difficult to counterfeit.
Yeah.
And it's quite easy actually to acquire, just a picture.
Yeah. Wow, that's extraordinary. That is really extraordinary. Um, so let me ask you about your different markets. So let's take the two examples, the US and China. I mean, culturally they're very different. I mean, doing business in Shanghai pretty different to doing business in New York in lots of ways. I mean, how do you manage those components of the kind of what you're doing, the kind of cultural sensitivities? I mean, how do you localize, I guess, is what I'm asking, into those different markets?
The person in charge of the sales in Shanghai is a Chinese person.
Right.
The person in charge of the sales in the US is a US person.
Okay.
First thing, okay? And you're right, the culture is very, very different, okay? I would say, first thing, in the US, it's difficult to say that there is a culture, okay? Because it's so different, okay?
Yeah.
In China, it's more, there is a pattern, okay? Things have to go very fast. Contracts contracts do not really matter, okay? You have to sign it, but they don't care, okay? So it's a different culture indeed, and we can adapt to this. Of course, we have to because in Switzerland we have a very different view on the way we of making business.
And is the kind of Swiss culture, the Swiss way of doing things, is that what drives how you do things? I mean, how important is the Swiss bit to that equation?
Well, first, Switzerland is a very small country. Okay, so we're always looking outside to sell things. Okay, so it's very the culture is about adaptation to
Right.
different.
Okay.
We have to. Okay, there
Yeah.
is no
Well, you
alternative.
have to
Okay,
adapt. Yeah, I get that.
no. And even inside Switzerland, you already have three languages. Okay, so even inside, we have to adapt. Okay. So and this is what we do constantly. Now, on some markets, And it's true for China, for instance, and maybe also for Japan. Some people know about Switzerland and like Switzerland. Okay, like I don't know, a quiet place of honest people, and not that fast, I would say. I tell you, for Chinese people, we are awfully slow in working in the way we work. Okay, for sure. But the quality is there, and when we promise something, we do it. It's not an outstanding way of working of AlpVision. It's more or less how the company do business here in Switzerland. There's nothing special about us.
Okay. Okay. I mean, it's interesting the way you describe it that way. Other people would describe it very differently, but it's very interesting. Your point about Switzerland's really interesting as well, the sort of outward looking and very adaptable. It's a very interesting point there. Let me ask you about the kind of journey, really. I mean, what would you say? Well, what's been the biggest failure? I know you've been at this quite a few years. I mean, have you ever had anything go horribly wrong? And what did you learn from that? How did it shape the way you moved forward?
So the one thing that went horribly wrong, I would say, is when I had worries and then didn't make money. Okay. That's the most loser thing. Okay. If I have worries and make money, it's okay. But and I learned this by making hardware. At some point, we decided to make a hardware system to for the printers to detect our security features.
Hmm.
Full system with the box Swiss quality. All aluminum. It was a perfect device with optical things, a processor, wonderful thing. Okay. I didn't imagine the complexity of building a hardware, okay, and making hundreds of them, okay. I don't know, in Singapore and have them shipped, or Korea having shipped in Switzerland, when you have the screws that unscrew during the travel, for instance, and make electrical shortcuts inside the PCB, and uh, and you realize you've got 100 devices, for instance, and you've made one mistake and you have to change all of them, and they are already
Expensive,
shipped in all the countries of the world.
yeah, pretty expensive. An
Yeah,
expensive way of learning, I would have thought.
yes, it's yeah, and at the end, actually, you realize that you are not even making a profit out of this.
Yeah.
So it's a total lose-lose situation. Okay, so and this was one of the big learnings, and so the way we change this now, instead of selling devices, so these are for quality control. Okay, for the printers, for instance, we sell a plastic box made in 3D printing.
Mhm.
That's it. And the plastic box, we put a smartphone. And the smartphone is going to do all the processing, acquisition of the picture, processing of the picture, and then we we have a very simple device.
Well, and I mean, that seems like a beautifully simple solution. I mean, how did you get to that from where you started building this very clever bit of kit? I mean, how did you go from that to such a simple idea?
Because you have to realize when we started the company in 2001, smartphones did not exist.
Okay. So you've figured out ways to introduce them into what you do.
Well, actually, I tell you, when smartphones entered the market, we were not that happy, okay? Because we already found a very good solution. At this point, we were using document scanner, and we were asking to people to put their product on the document scanner. And instead of scanning a document, we are scanning the product. So the
Okay.
box, for instance, okay?
Yeah.
That was perfect. Image was beautiful and controlled lighting, etc. And then smartphones came. Smart iPhone 4S, first one with a camera, no flash. And then we had customers starting to say, hey, Fred, that would be cool. Now, to stop with this big, bulky document scanner on this PC and have everything done in the smartphones. I was saying, come on, guys. We are detecting things which are like 20 microns across. Okay, very small thing. And you want me to detect this in a device which is handheld with an accuracy of a few centimeters. It's impossible. It's a joke. Okay, but customer came always asking always for this. So we had to work on it on this impossible stuff. But today, we are not selling any more scanners for authentication. We are only selling authentication solutions with smartphones.
Wow, that's so interesting that you've moved that. I mean, how? Sorry, just I'm just curious about that. How long did that take to go from one solution to the other? I mean, how long was that a fairly quick thing?
I think it took, yeah, it took several years. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Because at the beginning, we had the organizers, things like this, when you had a small keyboard and they were also able to take a picture, but the picture was really ugly and we could not process anything on the device itself. So it took several years and we are always desperate. For us, it was just an impossible task. Um, but the computing power of these devices kept on increasing. And at some point, we realized something is that we were able to detect 25 frames per second at the same speed as the video frame acquisition.
wow.
That means that we changed totally the strategy. We said, okay, if we try to detect our macro stuff and it doesn't detect, it's not a problem if you can do this 25 times per second. Because as you're moving around, at one point it's going to work.
Hmm.
And this is what we have today. And people take our app, then download it on the I don't know, iPhone, Android. They go on the product, it detects in 3 seconds. Say, ah, that's wonderful, Fred. Yeah, you think it's wonderful. But if it took 3 seconds, that means that it's failed 75 times.
Yeah. Okay, so they don't see that, do they?
But you don't see that. And once again, it's about the application, okay? What the people feel, not about the technical reality that it failed most of the
Yeah.
time, but
Yeah.
for you, it's a success.
Yeah, it's about how people feel about the product, isn't it? I totally get that. Let me ask you about the other side to the coin. I mean, we talked about things that have gone wrong and what you've learned from them. I mean, what would you attribute your success to? Because you're very successful, aren't you? I mean, it's a very successful company.
I think there is, well, first, there is a lot of luck here. Okay. Because you have to understand that we made a PhD in a field which is called digital watermarking, which is a technology for hiding invisible data into pictures. Okay. And we translated this technology to the field of authentication. Okay. But and there was a market there that we learned by chance because we tested many, many markets. So luck was the primary thing.
And persistence, I guess. I mean, sticking at it.
Persistence was natural because we tried so many things in parallel. Okay, one worked, which was anti-counterfeit, and then it was easy because customers was looking exactly for this.
Hmm. Cool. And in terms of those achievements, I mean, what would you say? I mean, there's a long list of things technically, certainly. What would you say you're most proud of?
Um, I think it's about the technology here. Well, I don't know. The first thing, the most important, okay, is the global impact.
Hmm.
Okay, I told you about 30 billion of products per year. That's huge. Okay. I went in Egypt a few months ago. Um, my wife went in Mongolia a few weeks ago, and we found some products there which are protected with our technology.
Wow. Wow, that must have been really cool.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
This is the so you have designer technology and it really impacts worldwide, and this is a reality. Okay, and we started to see this when we started to have logs. That means people when they scan a product, they started to send us a message on the server. Okay. And then we started to have, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 detection, from all the world. And we have a map and we see all the detection. Wow. So that's very impressive. Imagine there are, I don't know, 250, 300 printers worldwide who have printed our technology. So the global impact is probably the most impressive things of different culture all using this technology, which is helpful actually.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I mean, very impressive, actually, very impressive. And let me ask you, if you were to give some advice to a rookie CEO, somebody just starting out on your journey, I mean, what would that advice be?
So it's uh, it's really hard actually. I think the best thing is still to do exactly what you love to do. Okay, because if you do this, you are going to work effortless. Okay, and I was loving programming. I was programming at the beginning like hell because it was a pleasure. Anyway, I was programming also as a hobby. Thus it was okay to make it for living. Okay, so that passion for what you are doing, I think it's is really key here, and all the rest articulated around this. There was also something else, which is to be holistic.
And what do you mean by that exactly? Just explain that.
It's not about how only about how many seconds it takes for detecting a genuine product. Okay, you talked about hiring people. This has nothing to do with this.
Mm,
I talked about yearly license. This is the business model. I didn't talk about patents. This is something else.
mm,
So you have things which are totally different.
mm.
And the success of the company is an holistic view of doing all these things more or less right.
Yeah, yeah.
You cannot just cannot say, I don't care about hiring or I don't care about finances. You are not allowed to say this. It's impossible.
Mm. It's also, I think it's also, I mean, it's a very good point, mate. It's also what makes business interesting, really, I think, because you're not just doing one thing. You've got to solve a whole load of problems to make the one problem that you want to get right for customers work, haven't you?
Yes, and you're right on this, absolutely. And this is also uh, advice for CEO. You have to be built that way. Some people love to have many different problems. They just love it, okay? And the variety, the most variety is even better. Some other people are exactly the opposite. They want to have one specific thing that are going to be do very well, okay? And hopefully, most of the people are the second type of person, which is perfect because you, you don't want CEOs as employees. They are unmanageable. You don't want to
Yeah,
manage them.
yeah, I agree with that. I know about that. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Let me ask you a couple of other questions just before we wind up. Um, in terms of moving forward, I mean, what sort of things are you looking forward to? What sort of stuff have you got on the horizon? I mean, I know you've got lots of stuff going on, but what sort of new stuff have you got coming down the pipe?
I really believe in unique fingerprint. Okay, so so today we protect a lot of luxury things like gold ingots, for instance.
Right.
Um, but what I told you before, there is something that happened a few years ago that you may not be aware. One iPhone 16 Pro, came with a so-called macro mode.
Right.
Um, what this means is that suddenly, with standard smartphones, you were able to take very, very magnified images. And you are now able to identify details of, I would say, 10 microns, 5 microns with a
Pretty
standard.
small.
Yeah, very, very small.
Yeah.
And at this scale, we can do exactly what I told you before. You can have like the unique fingerprint of each object with a standard device that people can have in their hand.
Mm.
So this is really the top of the dream because not only you can say if it's authentic or not, but you can even say who is owning, who is
Right.
the
Okay.
owner. So that means
So
the
you can authenticate it. It's about that
yeah,
authentication process.
you are the owner, and if there is warranties, it comes to you and things like this, and you
Yeah.
have unique traceability. And unique traceability is extremely important. Also in Europe, there are some legislations directly in this direction. So this I believe a lot in this direction.
Yeah. And in terms of your industry, I mean, a couple of things that are not about your company, but about your industry. I mean, what would you say is the big, I mean, in the business that you're in, which is protecting protecting people against fakes. I mean, is there are there big blind spots in that industry that might come back to bite people?
Blind spots, you mean?
Yeah.
That means things which are counterfeited but we are not aware of.
Well, that is one of the things that was going through my mind. I mean, what's your take on that? I mean, it's stuff that is, I suppose it's stuff that most people wouldn't know about. I'm wondering whether you do.
I tell you something that most people are not aware of. No, I was not aware myself. Well, first, I was not aware that there were fake gold ingots. Okay.
All right. Okay.
I discovered this, and this is why we are protecting so much gold today. But I was not aware of the problem of the gray market, parallel trading. Okay, it's a
Right.
very technical thing, okay, that the general public is not aware of. It's these are resellers of authentic product, okay, but they are selling it on the wrong market.
Okay.
So a watch should be sold at $100 in China, for instance, is sold at $200 in Switzerland.
Mhm.
Things like this. And parallel market is very special because these are authentic products, but the resellers remove all the traceability information.
And why do they do that? Why does removing the authentication stuff make them more valuable products? Because presumably they can sell them for more.
They do not remove the authentication things, they remove the traceability things like the QR code
Okay.
or the barcodes, things like this. These are things which could identify who is the reseller in Singapore, which is parallel trading, selling this to Switzerland to another reseller. Is not allowed to do this. And
Uh,
he's hiding his identity by erasing the
so
barcode.
it creates the space for illegal trade to happen.
Yes, somehow, yes. You're right on this. Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
And is that does that happen a lot? I mean, I don't know much about that world. Does that happen a lot?
That's huge. That's incredibly huge.
Wow.
Almost all markets have this. This is not known by the general public because it's really professional stuff. Okay. And this really impacts the brand directly, the margins of the brand.
Yeah.
And for this, again, unique fingerprint is just the perfect tool.
Yeah. So that's what's coming, the unique fingerprint.
Yeah. We have also already deployed on automotive lubricants. Okay. You wouldn't imagine this, but there are a lot of fake automotive lubricants.
So f fake oil for the
Yeah,
car.
fake oil. So you
Wow.
put this in your engine, and then the engine is is dying. Okay, you break your engine because
So
you have.
how do you stop people producing fake oil then? I mean, how does that work?
With our technology, you cannot never stop people from doing fake. What you can do is to give a smartphone and an app to the people to check their
Okay.
before they put in to check if it's the real one.
Okay.
And in this market, there is also gray market and parallel trading. And we have already deployed in China since several years, actually, systems which enable to fight against parallel traders because there is also parallel trade on oil, automotive oil.
Wow, that's extraordinary. It must make your job really interesting, actually. One last question about the situation that you're in. I mean, all the talk at the moment is about AI. I mean, what's your take on the way AI is going to shake down over the next few years? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's a very interesting question because I can tell you when we saw AI coming, okay, because we are experts in signal processing and mathematics and stuff like this, okay, and we were doing AI, but not really for detecting fake from real, and um, and we tried to use AI for this, okay, directly replacing all our mathematics knowledge by AI,
Hmm.
and we found that it was not effective. But we found also that many competitors appeared on the market, direct competitors to us, doing only AI. Okay. So far, we lost no markets, nothing, because of these companies, and many of them have disappeared. Because we have realized that in practice, if you want to use AI, there are many things which do not work for the authentication process. However, what we are releasing, I guess, in a few months is an app that is going to help the people for to authenticate. For instance, you take your smartphone and you want to authenticate this remote, for instance, and the app is going to tell you put the remote in the field of view because we use now AI to recognize that the remote is not in the field of view, so we cannot authenticate it. So helping with message the user of our app is done now with AI.
Wow. I mean, and will that change things a lot? I mean, I understand what you're saying, but what impact will that have?
So it's an impact about user friendliness.
Right.
You want your people to succeed in authenticating their
Yeah.
products.
Yeah. Obviously.
If
Yeah.
they fail, they may actually feel that it's a fake. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's absolutely critical.
Yeah. Wow, how interesting. Fred, as always, I mean, it's great to talk to you. Thank you for sharing that story. I mean, it's such an interesting world that you live in. I mean, I always find it interesting to talk to you. And I'm, I'm very impressed that you've got a business that isn't hard to run. I mean, that's it that makes loads of money. I mean, I think that's a pretty impressive achievement. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for telling us about it. And, let's catch up again soon.
Thank you for the invitation. It was a pleasure, as usual.
Cheers, Fred. Bye bye.